Well, that's what it is. Yeah.
Oh, all right. Tonight,
I think I'm just gonna, it's easier to speak this, but I want to thank everyone for coming tonight. As I told all the kids in the schools, Women's History Month is important. And it's crazy to think that not too long ago, women didn't have the right to vote, they couldn't own property, they couldn't own businesses. And so it's important that we pause and recognize all the contributions that women have made to our society. And with that, we want to make sure that we keep women around. And so I think also having a moment to talk about women's health issues. But this is also kind of a universal health issue because you're talking about memory loss and it affects people differently. We're going to hear from some great speakers about memory loss and how that may affect us, even though people like me who is a little bit younger, I'm still in my 30s for one more year. But it's an important event, and I want to introduce our first speaker and bring her up from Alzheimer's of New Jersey. But sorry, that's a great organization. I've been to their fundraiser. They're having their big gala in a couple of weeks. So if you want to have a great night out, definitely support them and go to their gala in a few weeks. Thank you.
You prefer the microphone or no microphone? Microphone? No microphone? Oh,
We'll try
You're
it.
just gonna try it.
Funny.
is this better? Oh, is that better?
Yeah.
Thumbs up, thumbs down? We're getting astounding ups, so microphone it is. All right. So, hi everybody. My name is Jenna Noaker. I'm a Programs and Services Specialist at Alzheimer's New Jersey. Before we get started, we're going to talk about understanding memory loss tonight, but I'm going to tell you guys a little bit about who we are and what we do, so our Programs and Services. So we are a local nonprofit organization that's dedicated to helping and supporting the people and families of New Jersey that are impacted by Alzheimer's disease and other forms of dementia. And we do that in a number of different ways. Also, we are separate from the Alzheimer's Association. We disaffiliated from them back in 2013. So we are completely different. All of our funds stay in New Jersey. And these are the programs that we use to help support the people and families in New Jersey. So first off, we have our helpline. That number is 888-280-6055, and we're available Monday through Friday, 30 to 5, and anyone can call that number. If you have questions about the disease, if you want to know county resources, if you want to know, if you're concerned about yourself, if you don't know the next steps to take, give us a call. We're here to help. We also have our respite care and wellness program, and this is an amazing scholarship program that's specific for caregivers of someone with this disease. There's no financial eligibility. You just have to be a full-time caregiver, and it's a $1,000 scholarship that they use towards respite care expenses. So that's a licensed in-home aide, an adult day center, an overnight respite stay at a facility. It's a really great program, so if you know anyone that could benefit from it, please send them our way. Then we have our family support groups. We have both virtual and in-person options across the entire state, and those are all listed on our website. We also have community education programs, so like this one, but we also have weekly online webinars, different topic each week. So we have one on understanding dementia, which really dives deeper into the disease. We have communication tips and techniques and behavior changes, safety considerations, tons of different topics, and then we also have guest speakers. And we have two really exciting ones coming up. We have one about loss and grief that you can experience throughout this disease. And then we also have one on the new trials and research and medications about this disease, all the new updates about that. So two really exciting programs. And then we have a couple other programs as well. And you can call our helpline to learn more about any of those. And they're all on our website. So now we're going to dive in. So we're going to learn about understanding memory loss tonight. We're going to go over the difference between normal age-related changes, or those senior moments, compared to dementia. And then the next organization that's going to go Act Now is going to tell you a little bit about brain health and brain strategies. So what you do if you're noticing that, there's a difference. So these are going to be the objectives. This is going to be our roadmap for tonight's presentation and what you guys are all going to walk away with. So we are going to be able to describe the difference between normal age-related changes and dementia. We're going to be able to describe Alzheimer's disease and different types of dementia. We're going to determine next steps if you or your loved one have memory concerns. You're going to be able to identify 3 possible risks to brain health, list at least 3 lifestyle strategies to promote brain health, and identify various Alzheimer's New Jersey programs and how to get involved. And I promise I'm not going to read this entire presentation, just this slide. So, we ran a poll back in 2017 with Fairleigh Dickinson University to really understand the impact of this disease, and we found that over 600,000 people in New Jersey are impacted. So that means they either know someone who's caring for a loved one, they have the disease themselves, a family member has it, and that was back in 2017, so that number has only risen. So many people are impacted by this disease, and that's why it's so important to us that the funds stay in New Jersey. We also found that over 68% of people in New Jersey know someone who's been impacted. Just by a show of hands, anyone here know someone, have a loved one that has this disease? Okay. Oh, okay, that's a lot of hands. So this is all such important information, whether it's for yourself or for someone you're caring for. So we're going to start off by going over what are some normal age-related changes that you can experience. So these are going to be those senior moments. And I just want to start off by saying that our bodies change as we get older, and that's so normal. You know, we get a couple gray hairs, maybe we're balding, our bones start to hurt a little bit, and that's all so normalized. But what's not as normalized is that our brains also change, and we're going to experience changes with that. So this is going to really break down the differences. So we're going to see those impairments in a couple different places. So as we get older, maybe our memory is going to get impacted. And this is where a lot of people start to think, oh my gosh, do I have dementia? But there are going to be some normal age-related changes with your memory. So for example, this could be, where did I put my keys? Maybe you forget my name that I just said at the beginning of this presentation. Maybe you forget why you walked into a room. Those are going to be normal memory-related changes. We're also going to see an impairment when it comes to our attention. As we get older, it's going to be a little harder to do things like multitasking. So if you're on the phone and you're chit-chatting with someone and the TV's on in the background, it might be a little harder to give your full attention to the person that you're talking to on the phone. Maybe you just have to turn the TV off. So things like that are going to get a little more difficult. Our language could also get impaired. So this is what we like to call our word retrieval. So it may be harder to find a word, and that might happen to us more often as we get a little older. It's going to happen to me during this presentation. It happens, and as we get older, it may happen more frequently, and that's okay. Another thing is going to be reasoning and problem solving and processing speed. And an example that I like to use for this is if you get a new phone when you're a little older. It is one of the most frustrating things, trying to figure out how it works. The screen, the apps, all that. You might need to call in your granddaughter. You might need to call up your daughter, your son, and just really figure out how to work the phone, the computer, the iPad. But eventually you know how to do it. You get it. You can figure it out. It's just going to take a little longer. So that's the main thing I want to highlight, is that dementia is not a normal part of aging. These are the normal parts of aging. So now we're going to dive into dementia. So this is where it's really going to make sense of the differences. So dementia is a major neurocognitive disorder. So this is a loss of cognitive functioning. That's thinking, remembering, and reasoning, and behavioral abilities that are severe enough to interact with your day-to-day and daily activities. So that's the big difference here. So we're going to see those impairments in a couple different cognitive domains that are similar to the ones I just went over. So this is where it's really all going to make sense. So we're going to have an impairment in memory, but it's going to go beyond just forgetting my name or where the keys went. It's going to be things that really impact your day-to-day. So this is going to be forgetting to take your medication, forgetting if you already took it and taking it again. It's going to be forgetting familiar names, like maybe friend's name, or eventually, because this is a progressive brain disease, your father's name, your mother's name. It's going to progress into things like that. And this is really going to impact your day-to-day. You could forget to turn the stove off. You could forget to turn the water off, and then your bathroom floods. These are going to have a bigger impact than just forgetting, like, my name. We're also going to see in language, and again, this is going to go beyond that word retrieval that I was just talking about. So not being able to find a word in a conversation is one thing, but not being able to understand a conversation as it's happening is another. So we have found that it can take a person with dementia up to 90 seconds to fully process what's being said to them. And to have a back and forth conversation, that could be a little difficult. So with dementia, it's going beyond that word retrieval. It's not being able to find the right word, the right sentence. It's going to be. We also are going to see an impairment in self-management, and this is really just a fancy word for self-control. So this is the ability to regulate your behaviors and emotions. And an example that I like to use for this is if you go out to eat with a person with dementia and there's music playing in the restaurant and they start singing along really, really loud and you're getting a lot of stares, that person no longer has the ability to realize that that's not a social norm, that that's not something they should be doing. They also could be really overwhelmed and be rude or inappropriate to a waiter or a waitress. And again, they no longer have that ability to behaviors and emotions and realize that that's not okay. We're also going to have an impairment with visual perception. So I want you guys all to do this with me. It is reflective. This is going to be reflective of a field of vision of someone with dementia. So if you all go like this, cup your hands around your eyes. So this is reflective of a field of vision of someone with dementia. So you can see your peripherals get impaired, your depth perception gets impaired, and that's going to have a huge impact on your day-to-day, whether it's something as simple as going up and down a flight of stairs or something as complex as driving. You can see how that's really going to impact day-to-day life. We're also going to have an impairment in problem solving. So this is going to go beyond just figuring out how to work your new phone. This is going to be the inability to follow simple steps and instructions. It's going to be extremely difficult. Something as simple as following a recipe that you've done all your life is going to be extremely difficult now if you have this impairment. So we're going to jump in to some warning signs. So this is really going to pull it all together for you guys. We're going to go over some areas of concern, and then what it's going to look like with normal aging, and then what it would look like as a possible sign of dementia. But before we do that, any questions? Okay, so we're going to jump right in. This should help really pull it all together. So our first area of concern is going to be memory loss. So like I said in the beginning, normal age-related changes are going to be forgetting a name or forgetting where you put your keys. And it may happen often as we get older, but that's okay. With dementia, it's going to be difficulty remembering familiar names, like I said. So it can be difficult to remember your parents' name, your daughter's name, your neighbor's name even, that you've been living next to for 20 plus years. Things like that, more familiar names. It's also going to be putting your keys, your glasses, your wallet in unfamiliar places. So in the fridge, in a flower pot, places that you've never really been before, and it's happening frequently. Another area of concern could be disorientation. So in normal aging, we may forget the day of the week. We may forget why we walked into a room, but we know how to figure out the day of the week. We also can realize we know why we walked into a room eventually. With dementia, it's a completely different thing. It's going to be, you don't know how to figure out the day of the week. We all know you can look at your phone, you can look at your calendar, you know eventually how to figure it out. With dementia, also, it's going beyond not knowing how you walked into a room. It's not knowing how to get to a room or house. So if you come home from running errands, you really have to go to the bathroom, and now all of a sudden, you don't know where your bathroom is in your own home. So it's going to be that. We're also going to see a challenge in mental tasks. In normal aging, that's completely fine. We may make a mistake when balancing a checkbook. Now, I have never personally balanced a checkbook, but I hear that it can be a little difficult sometimes, and it's easy to make a mistake. Sorry about that. But, sorry. But with dementia, you're gonna see a frequently overdrawn account. You may forget to, pay your credit card bill. You may forget to pay your water bill, your electricity bill. It's gonna go beyond just a simple mistake of filling out your book. Then we're gonna see difficulty completing activities of daily living. So with normal aging, we may forget to empty the dishwasher. We may forget to even run the dishwasher. We may forget to take the laundry from the washer out and put it into the dryer. Now it smells, it's gross, you gotta wash it again. We get busy, things happen, we get overwhelmed. We might forget simple things. Dementia, it's gonna look completely different. So you may look at the dishwasher and not even know how to open it or start it, even though that's the same dishwasher you've had for 15 plus years. You may look at your toothbrush and now you don't know what to do with it. You don't know to put the toothpaste on it. It's gonna look completely different with normal aging. We're gonna go over a few more warning signs. So another area of concern could be trouble using words appropriately. So again, with normal aging, your word retrieval might be a little impaired. You might take a little longer to find the right word. You may not even get to the right word eventually. It's that tip of the tongue feeling. It may happen more often, but with dementia, it's going to go beyond that, like I said before. So it's going to be difficulty completing full sentences and following conversations with people, especially if you're in a big group and people are talking at once. If there's a lot of noise in the background, it's going to be harder to have that communication. Another area of concern, poor judgment. So with normal aging, we may be more prone to scams. There's a lot of them lately. There's financial ones. There's all different types, and they're getting really good and elaborate with them. But with dementia, we may be giving excessive money to solicitors or donating a lot of money when that's not something we've ever done. That's one of the main things that caregivers call and say something wasn't right. The bank accounts, all of that was all wrong. That was a big red flag. They've never done something like this. So it's that poor judgment. It could also mean dressing inappropriately in certain weather. So if it was like last weekend when it's cold and rainy, a person with dementia could be outside in just pajamas, no boots, no jacket, no umbrella. Or on a hot sunny day, they're all bundled up. So it's poor judgment and decision making. Last area of concern is going to be changes in mood and personality. So as we get older, things get a little more annoying, a little more frustrating. So an example I like to do for this is if you made plans to go to dinner with your friends and the restaurant was supposed to be 5 minutes away. Now all of a sudden it's 30 minutes away because they changed the plan. We may get a little irritated. It might be a little annoying. We don't like to drive at night, but we get over it. We go to the dinner and we have a good time. A person with dementia, if their routine gets disrupted, it's going to be extremely anxiety inducing. They may get frustrated. A situation is going to escalate differently for them. If their morning looks the same every single day, they sit down with a paper, drink their coffee, eat their breakfast. Now all of a sudden they have a doctor's appointment. It's going to be really difficult to adapt them to that. So these are going to be some of the warning signs or possible signs of dementia compared to normal age-related changes. Before we keep going, any questions? Okay. Oh, yes.
You mentioned there's a process of cognitive decline. Is there any way to kind of slow that cognitive decline, like playing Sudoku or memory games or anything like that?
Yes, so we will do that.
Okay, sorry.
That's all right. Okay, so now I'm going to quiz you guys and see if this makes sense. So we're going to go over, is it normal aging? So first, occasionally needing help to use the settings on a microwave or to record a television show. Is that normal aging?
Yes.
Yeah, of course. That's normal aging. It's normal to have difficulty with new things. What wouldn't be normal is if you go to microwave something and it's the same microwave you've had, nothing new, and all of a sudden you look at it and you don't know how to use it. You don't know how to start the microwave. Or if you're looking at your remote and you think it's a telephone and you go to call someone, it's going to be different. Next one. You made a doctor's appointment for a checkup months ago, but completely forget it. Is that normal aging? Yeah, normal for me too. What wouldn't be normal is if you just got off the phone with your doctor and you don't know what the appointment was for, you don't know when you made it for, you don't know what doctor you just called. That's going to be the difference. Next one. You sometimes look in the mirror and don't remember who you are. Is that normal aging? No, that is not normal aging. What would be normal aging is if you look in the mirror and you go, oh my gosh, what's that new wrinkle? Where did the gray come from? I'm balding. That's going to be the difference, but you recognize who you are. That's the importance. That's the difference. Next one. You want to ask your neighbor about his daughter who has just finished her freshman year of college, but you can't remember her name. Is that normal? Yeah, that's normal. What wouldn't be normal is if you grew up with this family since she was born and you eat Sunday dinner with them every single night. If you're forgetting her name, that's a familiar name. That could be a red flag. Last one. You find your glasses in the freezer, you're watching the flower pot or other objects in strange places. Is that normal aging? No, that is not normal aging. Sometimes we slip up and we make mistakes. So if you come in from grocery shopping and you go to unload all your groceries, you accidentally put your keys in the fridge. And then you're like, oh my gosh, where are my keys? They're in the fridge. If that happens, it's just a mistake. But if it's happening frequently, and people are noticing it, that might be a red flag. So is this all making sense? Everything coming together? Okay. So now we're going to dive into what causes dementia. So dementia is not a specific disease, it's symptoms. So we like to call it an umbrella term. And underneath that umbrella falls reversible conditions and neurodegenerative diseases. So what I mean by a reversible condition is if you treat the condition, you will return back to your cognitive baseline functioning. So we're going to go over a few of the reversible conditions that cause dementia. So again, dementia is the symptoms. It's not a specific disease. So older adults, dehydration is huge. I know in my grandma specifically, she drinks tea, coffee, and juice. That's about your go to the doctor and follow up about it, because if it is a reversible cause, that is the best case scenario. That's exactly what you want. So Now we're going to dive into neurodegenerative diseases that cause dementia, so cause those symptoms. So these are going to be the 4 most common. There are about 120 other forms of dementia, but these are the 4 most common that I'll tell you a little bit about. So first we have Alzheimer's disease. It accounts for about 60 to 80% of cases. And this is where we're really going to see that short-term memory impacted first. So because this is a progressive brain disease, it will eventually move into long-term memory. So this is going to be things like a graduation, your wedding day, things like that. Then we have multi-infarct or vascular dementia. This can cause a stroke or a mini stroke. Again, it's anything impacting the blood flow to the brain. Then we have frontotemporal dementia for about 10 to 20% of all cases. This is becoming increasingly more common in the media. Bruce Willis got diagnosed with it, Wendy Williams. It's becoming more apparent. And this is going to be localized damage to the frontal and temporal lobes of the brain. And this gets diagnosed earlier on as well, so between the ages of 45 to 64. Then we have dementia with Lewy bodies. This is oftentimes seen with Parkinson's disease. So it's going to have a big impairment on mobility, and it can also cause hallucinations. So again, there's about 120 other forms of dementia, but these are the most common. Any questions before we keep going? Okay. So we're briefly going to go into what Alzheimer's is, because it is the most common. But I really like to show this slide because it shows the progression of the disease. So this is a progressive brain disease. So you can see in the early stage, you're going to have that full, healthy brain. And as we get older, our brain is going to shrink a little, but it's not going to look like it does at the later stage if you have a healthy brain. So it's going to shrink throughout the disease. And this is due to the plaques and tangles that form in the brain. And they cause a loss of neuronal connection. And that loss of connection is going to lead to cell death. And that cell death is what causes the brain to shrink. So we really like to show this because it just highlights that the person is not choosing to act this way. They're not choosing to say these inappropriate things. They're not choosing to forget things. They're not doing this to annoy you. They have no control over this. Their brain is shrinking because of this progressive brain disease. So not trying to get too science on you guys, but now we're just going to go over real quick just some demographics about the disease. It just really highlights the impact this disease has on everyone, not just the person. So over 5 million Americans are living with Alzheimer's disease. The cost of caring in 2021 was estimated to be around $355 billion. This is a prohibitively expensive disease, and oftentimes the cost will fall on the caregiver. So that adds extra stress beyond just caring for the person. And Alzheimer's disease is the 6th leading cause of death in the United States. So if memory concerns arise, what do? So I just gave you all this information. You're noticing some red flags. What do you do next? First, you're going to want to go to your doctor. And your primary doctor is the perfect place to start. You don't have to go right to a specialist. But we want to make sure when we go to that primary doctor that we're prepared for the appointment. So we want to make sure we're writing down symptoms because unfortunately with this disease, you may forget. So we want to make sure we write down everything we're noticing. If you realized that you bought milk in the beginning of the week, you forgot, you bought another one, then you did it again. Writing that down, you may think it's silly, but that's really important. If you're forgetting familiar names, if it's harder to remember your father's name, for example, writing that down, letting the doctor know what's happening is going to let them be able to help you a little bit better. So it's so important that you document things. We also want to write down key personal information. So again, if you're taking certain medications, so good to have that all written down. If you've experienced a fall recently, letting them know that. If you have other conditions, high blood pressure, anything like that, keeping them in the loop about everything is going to help them figure out what could be going on. We also want to make sure, again, that we have all the medications written down. And like I've been saying, something as little as a vitamin, a daily multivitamin that you've been taking could have a huge impact if it's interacting with other medications. So important we account for everything. And then we also want to make sure that we write down questions to ask. because of course you could think of a question before the appointment, but those are really stressful appointments and you may forget to ask them, you may be overwhelmed and forget to ask. You want to make sure that you're prepared. And another really helpful thing could be bringing a family member, a loved one, someone to support you, because again, you may not remember what the doctor said, things about you that you have not caught on to, and they can fill the doctor. It's so important that you have that support system. And then you can also call the Alzheimer's New Jersey helpline. So again, we're here to help anyone. You don't have to have the disease yet to call us. If you have concerns, we can help you. We can get the resources for you. We can let you know what's going on. If it's normal aging, we can help you. That's what we're here for. We're here to support everyone. So now we're going to go into some benefits of seeking treatment. But before I do, does anyone have any questions? Yes.
So if your mother, your father, your grandparents have dementia or Alzheimer's, what's the likelihood that you'll get?
So Alzheimer's is a really tricky disease because that many people in your family could have it and then it skips you. So you may not get it. It's really hard because there's also genes, risk genes that you could carry, but even if you have the risk gene, you may never get it. There's no guarantee of getting it, of preventing it. It's a tricky disease. There's not enough known about it yet.
So there's no point in finding out if you have that risk gene?
You certainly could, and that could give you a certain peace of mind, but you could do everything right and get it. You could do everything wrong and not get it. So there's just not enough research about it because it could skip over your grandma, but your mom could have it and you never get it. And they're not sure why. You could have a different lifestyle than them. You could do everything differently. So yeah, it's tricky. But you certainly could get the testing and stay up to date with your doctor about things that could help, give you that peace of mind.
And those brain scans that you showed,
Mm-hmm.
you go to your doctor and ask to have those done?
Yeah. You could get a brain scan. Sure. Any other questions? Yes.
Any opinions about the medications that are coming out now for brain memory that are all of a sudden all over the TV?
Yeah, there's been a lot of advances in medications and things, and I think they're great that we're moving in the right direction. I have no opinion on whether someone should do them or not, because of course everyone's case is so different. One person with Alzheimer's disease is one person with Alzheimer's disease or dementia. It progresses so differently on everyone, so you have to treat it so differently. So there's a lot of side effects that come with it, but there's a lot of benefits that come to doing clinical trials and all those types of things. So it's really a very personal decision that you and your family and your doctors have to discuss. But it's great that we're moving in the right direction, medicines and all that. Any other questions? Yes.
Does dementia always come Alzheimer's?
So Alzheimer's disease is a form of dementia. So dementia is the symptoms. So it's an umbrella term we like to say. And then Alzheimer's disease is a neurodegenerative disease. So it's those symptoms. So it's a form of dementia. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, so let's keep going. So benefits of seeking treatments. You can identify if the dementia is reversible, and that's one of the number one benefits of seeking treatment. Because if it is reversible, like I said before, you'll return back to your cognitive baseline functioning, and that is best case scenario. Also begin treatments to manage symptoms. So all of those new medications that are coming out, they can slow the progression of this disease. They can help manage behaviors, and you know how to go about it. So being able to manage symptoms and everything like that right off the bat is super helpful because a lot of those medications that are coming out are for the earlier stages of this disease. We also are going to be able to educate ourselves and loved ones, and that's so important because this disease does not come with a playbook. They don't let you know how to do everything correctly. So if you can educate yourself right from the jump, that's so important, especially your loved ones, your caregivers, all of those people. Because you don't want to have to learn something when you're in a crisis. If you already know how to handle it beforehand, that's great. You also, with this disease, it might be helpful to just know what's down the line for you and all of your options. So if you educate yourself earlier on in the diagnosis process, it can be helpful for you as well. We also want to be able to create a safety plan for yourself and your loved ones. So this is huge. We want to make sure that our loved one can stay in their home, in our home, for as long as possible in a safe, independent way. We want to make sure that we're independent, but also remain safe. So creating a safety plan, whether it's talking about when maybe driving is going to have to stop, or if there's guns in the house, what we're going to do about that, getting a safe, making sure they're locked away. Creating all of those safety plans before, again, a crisis happens is so important. We also want to determine future care preferences, and this is huge. So a lot of times, because a person with dementia experiences those communication impairments, they may not be able to say what they want down the line. So if they can communicate it before they no longer can, and they can say, I want to stay in the home and I want to have, in-home care. Or I think I do want to attend an adult day center program because my friend went and she loves it. Or I don't want to go to a nursing home, or I do because I don't want you guys to have to care for that. If they can vocalize that to you while they still can, it's so important. And then settling financial or legal matters. None of that is fun, but it's really not fun if you're in a crisis, you're out of money, you don't have power of attorney. All of those things are such a headache. So if you do it before there's a crisis, things like that, it's so important. And we have tons of webinars and resources about legal and financial planning. So if you have any questions about that, you can go on our webinar library, learn from the professionals. So now we're going to go into risk factors for cognitive decline. So again, these are just risk factors. So you could do all of these things and never get the disease. So I just want to preface that they're just a risk. So age is the #1 risk for this disease. We unfortunately, none of us can avoid it. Then there's also genetics. So like I said before, there is that risk gene. Very few people have it. And again, it's not even a guarantee that you will get the disease if you have this risk gene. You're just at a higher risk. Then we have head injuries. So again, even if you took a minor fall, that's going to put you at a higher risk. Diabetes, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, all of those things, if you don't treat them, could put you at a higher risk. Heavy alcohol use and smoking. This is not good for any part of your body, but especially your brain. Depression and other mental illnesses, again, anything that adds extra stress to the brain and doesn't allow it to properly function is going to put you at a higher risk. Infrequent participation in mental and social stimuli. This is going to put you at a huge risk. It is so important that as we get older, we keep doing things. We exercise, we try to learn new things. Pushing your brain to learn new things is what's going to keep it healthy, and that's so important. And I know Act Now is going to talk about strategies of brain health, so I'm not going to go too much into it, but keeping your brain working is huge, whether it's learning a new language, picking up a new hobby, like see, word retrieval, I'm forgetting the word for knitting. So knitting, things like that, just learning new things, pushing your brain out of its normal routine is going to be so helpful for you. Also, little to no physical exercise is huge. I know when we get older, it's a little more annoying to do a lot of movement, exercise, but it's so important, whether it's chair yoga, a little walk around the block, something like that. It's so important that we keep doing that and keep up with it. And then Down syndrome is becoming a risk factor as well. So because we're all living longer, people with Down syndrome are also living longer. And it was found that 50% of people with Down syndrome, 60 and up, are going to end up with Alzheimer's or dementia. So now we're going to briefly go into strategies for brain health because, again, that's going to be your next presentation. So I'll leave that to them. But some strategies real quick. Avoiding smoking because, again, it's not good for any part of your body, but especially your brain. Controlling vascular risk factors. So, again, that high blood pressure, see, word retrieval again, guys, it's normal. High cholesterol, diabetes, making sure you're staying on top of that, taking the medications, going to the doctor, making sure that's all in check. eating a balanced diet, and this is really big because a lot of doctors, they'll tell you, do the MIND diet, do the DASH diet, do the Mediterranean diet, but that's not really realistic if we've been eating one way our entire lives. So a balanced diet is key, making sure you add in some vegetables, some fruits on the side, here and there. That's what's key. We want to still enjoy our life. We want to still have a donut at a little, presentation at night. We want to still enjoy our life, but having the balance is going to be so important. Then we want to take care of our mental health. So that, I skipped one. Be physically and socially active, like I said before. Again, this is so important. So whether it's trying out a chair yoga class at your senior center or, doing there's so many things that senior centers offer, that YMCA's offer, whether it's a senior swim class or a jazzercise class, so many different options for you guys to stay active. Coming to things like this is going to be huge as well. You're pushing your brain, you're learning new things, meeting new people. So this is so important. Then also taking care of your mental health, easier said than done, but making sure that you try to stay on top of it as best as possible. We also want to use thinking and cognitive skills, like memory skills. So like the gentleman in the back said, Sudoku, word games, things that are going to push your brain, learning a new language, things like that are really going to help, again, push your brain, keeping it active. Then getting a sufficient amount of sleep. It was found that 7 to 8 hours for a person 65 and older is mandatory. You need it. It's a must. They call it like sleep floss or something. I saw a neurologist say. It's when your brain really gets to reset, and clean itself, and get that rest. It's so important. And then maintaining social interactions. So again, like I said, coming to things like this, going to senior centers, going to clubs, groups, things like that. So key. But again, they'll go over that in detail after this. So we're going to get started. We want to start off with a single manageable goal. I don't expect their lifestyle because I stood up here and said something about it. But starting with a single manageable goal is going to be key. So taking a 15-minute walk around the block. It's getting beautiful out. Short walks every now and then are going to be really helpful. Again, there's chair yoga, there's senior yoga, there's swimming classes. Something to keep you active, manageable, single goal. And then adding a serving of vegetables to one meal a day, or a fruit with your breakfast, or a fruit with the donut. That's going to be the balance. That's what's so important. And then making an appointment for physical exams. I know as you get older, there's a lot of doctors to keep up with, but those appointments are so important because if they can catch a reversible cause, or if they can catch something sooner, you can do something about it sooner. You can start with those medications, those clinical trials. You have more options if you catch it sooner. So if something's wrong, go to the doctor, say something about it. And then getting support from family, friends, and community programs like Alzheimer's Jersey. So those are going to be single manageable goals. Again, these are our programs and services, but that is all I have for you guys. I hope this was helpful. Does anyone have any questions before the next presentation? Yes.
Are there any studies that show like there's environmental factors that affect dementia?
Yeah, there's tons of really in that. So lifestyle and environmental factors are going to affect differently, and they have a huge impact. So people that live near, I saw one study that, like the people in Flint, Michigan, they're going to be impacted by things differently than us where we live. So there's tons of studies. They'll word it a little better than I will, but yes, lifestyle, environment has a huge impact. Yes.
Yeah, I see a lot of marketing on brain antioxidants that you can buy, and it helps for memory loss and those type of things.
So there are a lot of say that they help with brain health. Some of those things are not FDA approved, so just keep that in mind. And then again, it's just really a personal decision of what you want to do. So you talk to your doctor, your pharmacist, and see what they have to say about it, their recommendations. But we'll leave it for them to say. Any other questions? All right, so act now will be up next about brain strategies. So, luck with mine. Thank you, everyone. How about we stand up if you can and just take a stretch? Let's get some blood to that brain. A little bit of stretchy stretch. Do it. Put your right foot in. That's another part. Anyone have to use the bathroom? That's big for you. Nobody has to use the bathroom. Let's hear it for it.
I feel like they must have had something in this.
Okay, we're just gonna let her this up. Thank you guys so much for being here. And I think you're gonna get just as much great information, maybe a little bit more hands-on kind of stuff, this next piece. I just want to say thank you to Kim Lewis, who's one of our nurses. She fell. She injured and a lot of other things in the same area, and she could not be here tonight. She's probably watching, if I know her, and saying, Patty, why'd you do this? You did that wrong, and so on. So if we can turn to the camera and give her a wave and say, hi, Kim. Right, there's the camera. Hi, Kim. Thank you.
There we go. Okay.
Get that coffee. And thank you to Commissioner Kelly for letting us do this. We just tell him and he says, that's a good idea, do it. So thank you, Commissioner. You learning something? Yeah, me too.
Yeah, but you know what? It's probably the same thing. Ask her. Because you don't hear that word. Once in a while.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, now they're doing that now.
I know a couple of people didn't get these, but I got it.
So, yes. The windows look nice. It was just working.
Yeah.
Tweet.
Sorry for the delay, we're getting our computer up and running.
Sorry about it, guys. We could do an exercise class in the meantime. That's gonna help get the blood flow flowing. And then we do the exercise. We gotta work it on.
To make sure that they're not charged.
If not, if the presentation doesn't work, you're just gonna have to look at my face the entire time. So awful.
Randy.
Might have to do it without the pictures, which is fine too. I can just talk, but it won't be as much fun. Yeah, brain games. Are you doing that? Got another. Oh, good. Yeah, is that
Never say come back.
In the meantime, everyone, you all received a blue folder on your chair. Oh, thank you.
You all received a blue folder on your chair.
Thank you.
Inside it says information packet, so it does have a lot of information about Alzheimer's disease and related dementias and brain health. There is also an intake or registration form. If you wouldn't mind filling that out. Act Now Foundation is a nonprofit. We are funded by the County of Essex to provide this disease education program to you tonight. And in return, they require that we get a registration form from you to prove that I actually saw you today. Plus, I should get a picture. We're going to get a group shot for sure. But if you wouldn't mind filling that out, if you haven't already, for those of you who have already turned it in, I thank you very much. But if you can fill that out. While they're trying to work on that, okay, so as I was saying, good evening, everyone. Good evening. I'm still glad you're here with us and alive and well and focusing, right? We're going to focus right now. This is going to be your mental stimulation for the evening, for the day. This is your 1 hour of required mental stimulation for every day. But as I was saying, I'm Christine Allen. I'm the president and co-founder of Act Now Foundation, and we are a dementia resource center. We provide supportive services in New Jersey to families that are living with Alzheimer's disease and related dementias.
We have a lot of programs, as you can see up here. We do cognitive assessments. So we do memory screenings. We are not doctors, we do not diagnose, but we use the memory screening as a baseline. Most people have never gone, when they do go to the doctor, have never had a memory screening. Have any of you ever had your memory checked by your doctor? 2 or 3 people, not by the doctor. Okay, so it's really interesting. I mean, you know, and we're hoping that the medical field will reach out to patients on an annual basis. It is part of your Medicare annual wellness check, getting a free memory screening from your doctor. So we actually do the same test that they do in the doctor's office. And it's a cognitive assessment. I trust you, we don't put any plugs on your head. We're not taking any images of your brain. But we're testing you for a baseline. So this is a great informational baseline purpose to find out if your memory concerns are a normal part of the aging process, or if it's something that you should be more concerned about. And if it is, at that point, then we work with you to go and get that clinical diagnosis. And as Alzheimer's New Jersey was saying, or to find out if it's a preventable, reversible condition, which would be the best news ever. That's why we actually have a program. It's called the Alzheimer's Early Detection Program. And the whole goal is for you to figure out whether your memory concerns are a normal part of the aging process, or is this something you should be concerned about? Because as we were saying, the sooner that we start attacking this, the sooner we get educated, the sooner we start finding out about how to prepare for this journey you're about to take, the better. So we do cognitive assessments. We also do support groups. We have weekly support groups that are all virtual. So if you are interested, or if you are a caregiver currently, by the way, is anyone here a caregiver taking care of somebody?